Good afternoon, Israel and Europe, and good morning, America. My name is Odelia, and I manage the business development activities for the USA at the Israel Innovation Authority. Before we begin, please note that the webinar is being recorded and we will upload it on our YouTube page in a few days. Today, you will discover how to invest in Israeli deep tech ventures. Hanan Brand, VP of the Startup Division, and Chaya Vital, Head of Early Stage Investments at the Israel Innovation Authority, will present our new Deep Tech Incubators Fund. We will have time for questions. You can ask your question in the dedicated session, and the chat will be open, and we invite you to use it to write about yourself and to connect with relevant people. First, we will have a special greeting from Shlomi Kaufman, the VP of the International Division at the Israel Innovation Authority, that will give you a short overview of our activities and of our organization. Please, Shlomi.
Thank you so much, Odelia, and good morning, good afternoon, and thank you all for taking the time and joining us today. We're very thrilled to have you with us and to be able to share the latest developments and what's happening in Israel, what's happening in Israel and tech scene. But maybe before talking about what are the plans and then how we see the future, where to invest and how to invest, we can go a bit into where Israel stands today in terms of data, in terms of number of companies, and so on. So maybe first slide, if we can have it, please. Okay. Fantastic. So for many of you may know, but others less, the vibrancy and the innovative ecosystem that Israel has created in the past several decades. Today, after I would say since the past 30 years, Israel is ranked pretty much third in the world in its number of companies, and not only the number of companies and the ecosystem, but more into the vibrancy and the dynamism of the country. So as you can see in this slide, there are more than 9,000 companies active today in Israel, focusing on various areas of tech, which is pretty amazing to see the diversity there all. And we are ranked, as you can see, third to San Francisco and New York. But these 9,000 companies are attractive, but couldn't also be founded and scale here without the presence of very active venture capital companies, as well as multinationals. And the multinationals, you just can see a few of them, out of the hundreds which exist here, which are present and active here and investing in Israeli startups. Some of the multinationals started to work here pretty much 30 or 40 years ago. Others are later comers, but you see how much Israeli talent, how much Israeli vibrancy in the ecosystem here, how much it attracts pretty much companies from all sectors, but predominantly tech. And it's really, we are proud that a country of 10 million people has such a concentration of the major companies here. And we will continue to go. We have, our goal is to continue to develop, continue to invest, continue to move forward with the tech innovation. And one of the what we have achieved, we can be proud of, of the companies that you can see in this slide, which created companies which are today, some of them are listed on NASDAQ, some of them listed in other stock exchanges. But you can see, and for many people across the world, these companies are familiar companies, are known companies. We talk about Checkpoint when it comes to cybersecurity. We talk about Waze, Mobileye, Monday. And we see solutions just from this small number of companies across the board, from solutions to climate, to solutions to software, to health, and etc. Next, please. And maybe this line, which is, and some people are saying, so okay, so Israel is going through various challenges, but still the ecosystem is vibrant. And for Israelis to create, to innovate, to found companies, it's like a dream that come true. And we can see just from last year, you can see the best inventions published in Times Magazine last year. You can see just these, 9, 10 companies which were included and making the world really a better place and with huge contribution. Next, please. So, as I said earlier, the Israeli Innovation Authority is the public funded organization, which main responsibility is to make sure that Israel tech continues not only deliver but continues to strive, continues to develop. And what we do at the Israeli Innovation Authority basically invest and making sure that the tech infrastructure that we need here, that exists for Israeli companies, and to continue to build and to create the right ecosystem for future technologies. We also invest, the other division and the other part is investing in startups, and you will hear more about the venture incubators and the startup fund that we launched about a month ago. And at the same time, we also invest in growth companies. When in all these three areas, the idea is to invest in future technologies that will continue to create and build the Israeli ecosystem. And we at the International Collaboration Division are responsible in carrying the responsibility of building bridges, building opportunities for investors in Israel, for Israeli companies overseas. We run our association with Horizon Europe, work with multinationals across the globe, and create other opportunities for Israeli companies as well as global companies. And we are here to continue working with you, and happy to be at your disposal in the future. And here I will say thank you again for joining us, and we'll hand it over to my colleague Hanan Brand, VP of the Startup Division. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Shlomi, for the introduction, and we will continue from here to discuss a few words about who is the IIA, how do we invest, what's our principle of investments, and then we'll go into the discussion about today's topic, which is, first of all, the startup fund, the $200 million annual investment into deep tech companies, and also, of course, the venture incubator tender that was opened a month and a half ago, and we're really happy for the vast interest that we see also today in the participants. As I wrote, feel free to write in the chat and introduce yourself if you'd like to know others who are currently in this webinar. So a few words about us. Every year we get somewhere around 3,000 submissions of companies who apply to us to get funding. Around 1/3 of them are approved. So 1,000 projects, most of them new companies, received funding from the IIA last year in 2013. We do that through 200 tech experts that work with us in the Israel Innovation Authority. They're basically due diligence experts who come from every technology field that you can imagine and help us with doing the due diligence and deciding in which companies to invest. Every year, our budget is somewhere around $500 million. That's our annual investments into companies. And above that, there is, of course, the international programs in Horizon that Shlomi from the international division is leading, which basically makes us the largest early stage investor in Israel today. The difference between us and then a regular venture capital is our investment. We don't take any equity. Our money is completely non-dilutive, so we don't take any equity, but also no decision rights in the company. Our money is a conditional grant, which means that once you received it, you won't need to repay it if you don't succeed. So until you have any revenues, you don't need to repay any of the grant. Only if there will be revenues in the future, you will start to repay the loan up to 3% of your revenues per year until you repay the investment that you got. The other way that we receive back the money is if there is a transfer of the IP. We invest in companies where IP in Israel. It's okay if companies are domiciled and have activities abroad, but we do invest only in companies where the IP in Israel. In terms where the IP is transferred, which is completely okay in M&As, then you will repay in most cases up to 3x what you received from us. If after an M&A the IP stays in Israel, then you don't need to pay anything. Okay, so that's the second principle of investment. The third one is matching. Our investments is not only a grant. We always want to see a matching with the private sector. So in every investment, even if very early stage, we are looking for this public-private partnership. And as you will see soon in the startup fund, it's a very important principle for us in this investment. Now, we are focusing most of our investment in the deep tech ventures and areas where we believe is the basics for the next wave of innovation. This research by BCG is trying to explain in a few words what is a deep tech company or what kind of criteria. It doesn't need to have all of these criteria, but I think it gives an understanding of what type of companies. So the first one, are mission-oriented. 97% of deep tech ventures based on this research help to at least one of UN SDGs, so they are also very important for the world. Second one, convergence of technologies. Most of deep tech ventures use at least 2 technologies, a combination of not only one technology, but at least 2, sometimes 3 technologies. The third component is many of them have a physical component. So 83% of deep tech, they're not only in software, not only in the cyberspace, they also engage in building some kind of physical product. There's, of course, always a software layer around it, but it is in the physical layer. Not all of companies, we're talking about 83% of them are in this physical component. And maybe the most important, they are IP-backed. So they are based on deep knowledge developed sometime in university research labs, sometime in only somebody's idea. But there is a strong IP protection that helps this company to also succeed and also make a lot of revenues and success in the future. Now, of course, the deep tech has also risks. If you're trying to build, the next big thing, there is less investors. It's highly regulated, long time to market, high technological risk. And we understand that in these areas, it's harder to investors to invest. And that's why part of our job in the money that we invest is to create a favorable ground for deep tech ventures in order to lower the risk for the private sector. So because we understand these areas are harder and it's much easier for investors sometimes to go to areas that are closer to the market with very short cycles, we help by lowering the risk in these types of investments. Now, the new startup fund that we launched just a few months ago and 3 months ago, actually, is based on supporting startup along their life, all the way from an ideation stage through pre-seed, seed, and A. Okay? We're talking about grants in the ideation stage from a budget of somewhere around $70,000. It could be for really an idea, no company yet formed. You can receive 80% of that. So out of the $70,000, you can receive somewhere around $55,000. I'll explain in the next slide. In the pre-seed round, an average pre-seed round is somewhere around the $700,000, $800,000. We will give 60% of that. In a seed round of somewhere around $2.5, $2.8, $3 million, we can give to the company up to 50% of that. And then in Series A, in larger rounds of $15 million, we will participate in up to 30% of the round to help to mitigate the risk. Now, important to say, in companies that will be in the periphery in Israel or are led by underrepresented population, could be women, ultra-Orthodox, or the Arab community, then there is an additional 10% to the grant. So you actually get more money and the investor needs to put less money to us. Now, just if you look at this in a table, I think this could be explained better. Our non-dilutive investment takes 80% and 60%, 50%, 30% of the risk, which means that a company that will start all the way from ideation and will be approved by our committee from pre-seed, seed, and A can receive somewhere around $6 million of non-dilutive investments, which of course is mitigating and helping to reduce the risk to the private investors who are going to participate. It's very important to say that there is no commitment, which means the company will still need to apply to us in every stage. However, we do take into consideration the deep of the how much the company has a technology that is interesting and the deep tech of it, but also we're looking in the quality of the investors, which means that potential venture incubators that will be established as part of this tender will have a good chance to be approved. But as I said before, there's no commitment to approve all of the companies all the way. The best companies will be approved. Now, on the portfolio level, if you, let's say, want to create a new fund, a deep tech fund, and go all the way to venture creation, on a portfolio fund, you can get $50, $60 million of non-dilutive grants. If you look at this math, let's say you create 20 companies in pre-seed, 12 companies go to seed, 8 companies go to Series A. We're talking about very, very serious amount of investments, non-dilutive investments that can be received from the IIA. Now, in the venture incubator tender that we are talking about today, we are looking to fund the future. We're looking to companies who will be really groundbreaking and really important for the future. The venture incubator model is not new. Israel has this model since 1993, where more than 2,000 companies were established through these programs, somewhere around 60 to 70 companies per year. And a very, very high percentage of companies in health tech, for example, in climate tech, are actually companies who were started in an incubator. 37% of round A deep tech companies in Israel were established in incubators. And we also did a small research seeing that companies who were established in 2013 to 2017 received from us somewhere around $200 million of grants, but raised from the private market more than $1.5 billion. So there's a very nice leverage on our investment to create new companies. Now, in the bottom line, you can see some of the shareholders of the current incubators. You can see some of the largest names in the world here. And it's both also strategic investors, large multinationals, and also financial investors who join forces in a consortia in order to succeed and create great companies. Now, the new call of venture incubators, it's a different model than incubators we had in the past, and I will explain the difference in a few sentences. First of all, incubator gets the boots on the ground and an expert in its domain. So the fact that you have an activity, you have the ability to come and understand what's going on in the Israeli ecosystem and actually build great companies. There's, of course, the de-risking. So the fact that our grant, and I'll talk more about it soon, of 40 million new Israeli shekels, which is more than $10 million, can help you build a really large team, a significant team that can help the companies, and also a central lab for the company. And above that, you also have the ability to get co-investments in the portfolio companies. Okay, so the ability to, from one side, to get the $10 million for the infrastructure, for the management fee, and above that, the ability to get 40, 50, $60 million potentially in the portfolio is, of course, a large de-risking for investor. We are looking for venture creation. So we're looking for groups who are not only going to invest in companies and do deal flow, but also to work actively to create new companies, or at least to support them all the way from the beginning towards Series A, with solving some of the world's biggest problems, and also knowing the areas of expertise that is needed in order to succeed. Commitment. We're talking about 5 years of a concession period, okay? And what we are interested actually is not only the 5 years. We're looking for a new powerhouse that will be with us for the next 10, 15, 20 years. We'll be able to raise additional funding. And then, of course, after this 5 years period, even without our support in the incubator itself, they will be still able to receive co-investments in the new portfolio companies based on the startup fund. Okay, so these are some of the very important parts of the tender, and important to understand them. Now, we're getting a lot of questions about the grant. We're talking about a 40 million shekels grant, up to 40 million shekel grants, which is somewhere around $10, $12 million for 5 years. The conditions is we give you the money back for your operation expenses and your capital expenses, which means your management fee in general, your team, your facilities, your ability to create a regulation team, to create a team that helps with venture building, with growing the company, but also for your capital expenses, which is a central lab for the companies to build their own companies. Okay, it will start with 70% of expenses in the first year and second year. 60% of expenses will be covered by us in the year 3 to 4, and then 50% of the expenses in year 5. There are a few more conditions. So in the first 3 years, we would like to see 25 million shekels invested in it, at least 10 companies that will be submitted and approved. We also are looking for up to 6 million shekels per year in operating expenses, which means that if you decide not to build any infrastructure or any lab for the company, the maximum you can receive per year is 6 million. If you also decide to build a lab and a central for equipment for your companies, then you can also have that above the 6 million shekels to get to the 40 million. Now, there's no royalties and no returns in this amount of money. You don't need to repay it in any way. And the payments and reporting is based on the II procedures. Basically, it means that you do the expense and then we give you the repayment. There's many threshold conditions and others, and I'm not going to go over everything because I'm sure that if you're interested, then you'll read the whole information and you can, of course, ask us. But first of all, we are looking for groups that are registered in Israel, which means that if you are a multinational or if you are a foreign VC, you will need to find a formation of a new group or a current group in Israel that will be already registered here, okay? Which is not very hard to create. The second thing, we have a threshold of financial resources of at least 120 million shekels, which is above or somewhere around $30 million. So it means that you have the ability, your group have the ability to invest $30 million both in companies and in the incubator itself for the 5 years. That is the threshold which we would like to see the groups who are going to submit to us. And it's a threshold, which means you have to get to this threshold in order to submit. The third issue is we need a professional team. So at least we would like to see a CEO, a CTO, and a chief of business officer. So that is the minimum team. But of course, with the amount of money that we are committing, we would like to see big teams with a lot of experience as part of this consortium. Now, how are we going to choose the winners? There is, of course, you need to submit to us a proposal. It gets to us, and then we will have a selection committee. First thing is the scope and quality and experience of the bidder and its shareholders, 15% of the rank. So, for example, the experience in venture creation, due diligence in early stage investments, your ability to have technological and business support and expertise in a specific technological field. It's completely fine if you decide to do 2 fields, but we would like to see expertise and understanding in the areas that you choose, not to have a fund that is going to do everything. We think it's much better to have expertise. The second thing is the added value of the bidder and its shareholders. So we're also looking in the shareholders, their ability to help the companies experience professionality, also in the board of directors, support program, etc. The third one is scope of quality of the management team. Of course, the management team is very, very important for us and its background. Of course, a very important part is the business plan. So in this business plan, we would like to see what field you want to go here, where do you want to invest, especially in areas that have low availability of investor capital. We want to understand what kind of a venture creation model are you using or venture building models you're going to use. We're looking for an amount of companies that you would like to create every year. We are looking for programs that are able to support the companies, of course, beyond the investment itself, and also be part of the ecosystem. And of course, we are looking for the longer run also for groups who want to stay here and also support the incubator beyond the franchise period after the 5 years. The last, actually 2 last selection criteria is the funding sources. So as I said before, the threshold of 120 million shekels is a threshold. But of course, we would like to see groups with more than that. And for the amount above the 120 million shekels, we will take into consideration also soft commitments, second closing that you would like to close after you win the tender, potential LOI, letter of intents, will also be considered, but we would like to see the ability to raise additional capital for this consortia after winning the bid. Okay. The last thing, of course, is a general impression of the committee member. All of this creates the rank that you will receive in part of this tender. So about the timeline, and I'm going to finish soon and we can go to Q&A. The last date to submit the proposals is September 24th. Okay, so there's almost 4 more months for the submissions. We received many questions. Some of them we can answer today, and some of them we will publish on our website on June 9th. Some of the questions, so please check the link below so you can have the information. We're going to have a networking event, a physical event, actually here in Tel Aviv. For people who are abroad, maybe you can join us, but it will be physical here in Tel Aviv, where what we're trying to do is a networking event. People can connect together, potential bidders can connect and maybe join forces. That will be in June 25th in Paris Center in Tel Aviv. The evaluation and selection process will happen in Q4 2024, and we will announce the winners in the beginning of 2025. Okay, the link that you see below, and we can also put it here in the chat, has all of the additional information that is needed in order to submit the proposal. So that's in a nutshell what we have to talk about, and we'll be glad to speak and answer any question. If you would like to send us emails after the webinar, that will be, by the way, recorded and uploaded to YouTube in our website, you can send us emails to this email, bidding.incubators@innovation.Israel, and we'll be happy to help with any question. So thank you very much, and let's move to the Q&A part. And I'd like to invite Chai also to join us for this part. Chai? Okay.
Hi, everyone. So I have one question here. The question is, can the limited partner to reach the 120 million shekels be a mix of other public-private entities? Well, we expect the incubators to bring private money. The minimum 120 million shekels should be private money.
When we're talking about public money, can be from Israeli public money. Other public money is, of course, not able. If it's other public money from other countries, then it's okay. But if you would like to ask us the specific question, you can submit it to our email, and we will answer. Okay, about the question of the commitment of the $30 million, we are looking for this amount to be committed for the companies and for the incubator itself, for its management fees, by the day of the submissions. Okay, it could be in a way of a GP/LP commitment, and it could be also from other investors who are committing to invest this amount of money during the time. The reason that we are looking and asking for that is without this amount of money, it will be very hard to support companies all the way from pre-seed to the beginning of Series A. Above that amount, the threshold, of course, we would love to see additional funding that could be in a term of LOI or a term sheet that will be could be also raised in a second closing after the submissions. But yes, by the day of the closing, we would need to see groups that have the ability to show commitments of 120 million shekels.
Another question is, you mentioned the need for 10 approved companies in the first 3 years. What does approved mean? Well, approved mean approved by the Israel Innovation Authority's investment committee for startups in the pre-seed stage. So you'll have to have your portfolio companies be approved not only by your investment committee, but also by our investment committee.
Yeah, and in every incubator we had in the past, not every company that was submitted was approved. There was always a selection process in order to approve it. However, and as I said, and I think it's important to re-emphasize, the criteria of getting our funding is based on the ability to create a deep tech company, to build a good team, to build a good business use case, and also we are looking into the investor and his ability to help. So the chances that if you have a deep tech company that is based on significant IP and you want to build it and also support it, the chances to get approval is quite high. Okay, even today, our percentage of approval is quite high, and it doesn't mean that we are committing that 100% of companies who will be submitted will be approved. However, the chances are quite high to receive a approval. And of course, again, based on the quality of investment and compared to other applications that we're going to receive. I see here another question about the amount of money.
There are some questions in the chat as well, and not only in the Q&A section.
Mm.
Yeah. There's a question about the how the fund would be structured. Well, as Hanan said, it could be structured as a like a VC with limited partners and a GP, a general partner, or any other establishment that could operate like an incubator, like any investment firm.
Yeah, there is a reason that we don't say that it needs to be in this format or the other format, okay? Because there are formats that we saw in the past, but we are open for other connections. Of course, there is a classic GPLP, there is consortia, and there's other ways to create it. We are open in the business application to see different models. However, we want to see this commitment, right? So we cannot just approve based on soft commitments to be invested in the company. So that's very important for us. And I want again to say there are many interesting people here in the group. We know it's a high threshold, and we believe the connection between potential bidders could be very interesting and also help to reach this threshold. So it's really worth connecting.
Another question here is, do you have target industries or technologies? As Hanan mentioned before, we are focusing on deep tech, which is a very wide definition. We're looking for deep technologies in medical, energy, climate, agriculture, anything that answers the criteria that Hanan mentioned earlier in his presentations. We are bottom up in this call for proposals. We're not focused on specific industries.
I see a question about dual use defense that are companies, qualified targets. Yes, the answer is every potential market that hits the criteria that we discussed before can be an area of interest for this program, both for submissions directly to the startup fund and also for the potential incubator.
Relating to that, I may add that we're looking for incubators that will establish and invest in startups that have the potential to grow and become whole companies in Israel, to develop and become whole companies and independent companies. So you should take that under your considerations.
I say a question about what kind of confirmation for committed 120 million shekels. For us, it's a base for the tender, right? We cannot. It will be very hard for us to compare between bidders if some of the applications will be only are questionable, right? So we are looking for commitments. Of course, it doesn't mean that you need to have all of the money in the bank account. We know about these issues, the LPGP commitment, etc. But we want it to be as close as possible and not only soft commitment. Okay, so we also have a financial checker. Okay, we are checking the technology and the application, but there will be also a financial checking that will try to see and get the commitment letters that you have from your investors and from potential LPs, not only potential. Okay, so that it will be acceptable.
You'll have to submit.
Having said that, the money above the threshold, we will also be able to look at other additional funding that is maybe not closed yet, as soft commitments, LOI, etc., and it can help you. Although we, of course, take more into consideration amounts that are already signed and committed.
Another question here is, how will you facilitate deal flow and introduction to companies over time? I'll make it clear. This deal flow and venture creation and venture building is the incubator's job. We are not doing it. The incubator, the day job of the incubator and the incubator team is to facilitate the venture creation processes in order to create the new startups and invest in them later on.
I got this question about venture. What is venture creation in the way that we see it? One model can be, taking research from university and creating companies based on that. Whoever is interested in that model, we also have additional funding for commercialized research that you can even receive money from us before creating the company in the university. So for that model, that could be also very interesting and above the $6 million that we were discussing. So that one model of venture creation is taking it from university, but there's many other models that could be ideation. It could be also a deal flow of looking for very, very, very early stage companies in their first days. But very important for us to say, we are not looking for funds who are going to want to start in seed round, etc. This needs to be a very hands-on approach of building and being a very important crucial part of the company from the early days of creation. Okay, that's why we're taking 60% of the risk in this stage, and then 50% in the seed round, and then 30% in the Series A. Okay,
Odelia, maybe we can wrap it up.
So I think this is the end of our webinar. Thank you to our speakers and participants for joining us. Reach out to us if you have any questions. Hanan said the call is open until the 24th of September. So we are here for any question that you might have, and wish you to have a nice day.
Last comment. I'm sorry, Adelia. I know I see here many participants who could want to join and probably will not be able to be here in Israel. Feel free to send us an email to the email that we put before to introduce yourself, and we will try to see how we can put you in touch with some other potential bidders. So please feel free to reach out to us in the email that we put before in that presentation. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.